From secret affairs to irresistible attraction on set, some stars of Hollywood's golden age couldn't control their desires. But giving in to temptation came with its own problems. And for these stars, an unexpected love child was the outcome. How these stars handled having love children varied. In fact, some kept it such a secret that you'll be surprised when you learn the truth. Judy Lewis. In a world where secrets rarely stay hidden, Judy Lewis's paternity became the subject of whispers and speculation within Hollywood. It was hard to ignore how much she resembled the famous Clark Gable, yet Judy grew up under the belief that she was adopted. The story began when Clark Gable and Loretta Young, two major stars, first crossed paths while working on film sets bathed in bright studio lights. At first, they were simply co-workers, but over time, their professional relationship turned into something more. Gable, known as the King of Hollywood, and Young, with her angelic looks and elegance, couldn't resist their feelings for each other. Though their attraction sparked rumors, their off-screen romance was kept out of sight from the watchful eyes of the public and studio bosses. Behind closed doors, their passion flourished, breaking the strict moral boundaries of that era. Loretta, often seen as the epitome of class and virtue in Hollywood, had a public image built on grace and moral integrity. She was known for her dedication to her craft and had a reputation as a role model, especially during Hollywood's conservative period. On the other hand, Gable, despite his charm and talent, carried a more complicated legacy. His personal life was marked by multiple marriages and extramarital affairs, which often overshadowed his work on screen. Though he was respected for his talent, his reputation off-screen was more of a mixed bag. Their affair might have remained a secret forever if not for the arrival of their love child, Judy Lewis. Loretta Young worked hard to protect her daughter from the judgment of the outside world, keeping the truth within a close-knit circle of trusted friends. However, as Judy grew older, her strong resemblance to Gable couldn't be ignored. The secret affair became harder to conceal. In order to keep up the ruse, Loretta told Judy she was adopted. When Judy was 15, she met Clark Gable for the first time during a visit to her mother's house. Though nothing was said about their true relationship, Judy lived her life believing she had been adopted, dismissing any rumors that connected her to the famous actor. But as with most secrets, the truth eventually came to light. Judy Lewis learned the shocking truth at the age of 31, on her wedding day no less. After hearing the swirling rumors and seeing the undeniable resemblance, she confronted her mother, demanding answers. Overwhelmed with emotion, Loretta finally confessed that Clark Gable was indeed Judy's father. This revelation sent shockwaves through Hollywood and tarnished the once polished image of one of its biggest stars. Judy went on to share her story in her autobiography, Uncommon Knowledge, where she confirmed that she was, in fact, the daughter of the iconic Clark Gable. The discovery reshaped her understanding of herself and her place in the world, shining a light on a secret that had been carefully guarded for decades. Scott Eastwood, carving his own legacy. When you look at Scott, you can easily say this is the exact child of legendary Clint Eastwood, but you may not know this was not an official birth. Scott was the production of an affair that lasted so long that everybody finally came to know. In the 1980s, while Clint Eastwood was still married, he had an affair with flight attendant Jocelyn Reeves. This relationship led to the birth of Scott in 1986 and his sister Catherine. Unlike many celebrities of the time who distanced themselves from children born out of wedlock, Clint took full responsibility for his children from the start. He was present in their lives and made sure to impart valuable life lessons. Growing up, Scott spent his early years on his father's ranch in Northern California, often accompanying Clint to movie sets. Being around film production from a young age fueled Scott's passion for acting and storytelling. Despite having one of Hollywood's biggest stars as a father, Scott wasn't interested in coasting on Clint's fame. He decided early on to make his own way, auditioning under his mother's last name, Reeves, to avoid any special treatment. Clint, who had built his career from scratch during tough times like the Great Depression, made sure that Scott understood the value of hard work. Scott's early days weren't glamorous. He worked as a bartender in San Diego while juggling auditions in Los Angeles, determined to prove his worth in the industry without leaning on his father's name. That determination paid off. Scott eventually found his footing, landing major roles in films like the war drama Fury, where he starred alongside Brad Pitt and Shia LaBeouf, and the romantic drama The Longest Ride, based on the Nicholas Sparks novel. These roles showcased his ability to hold his own on screen, and like his father, Scott approaches his craft with dedication, always striving to deliver his best performance. But Scott's ambitions didn't stop with acting. Following in Clint's footsteps, he has ventured into producing and directing. His passion for filmmaking extends beyond just being in front of the camera. He's eager to explore every facet of the industry. His decision to diversify his career speaks to his commitment to storytelling and his desire to make a lasting impact in Hollywood. Though Clint Eastwood's shadow will always loom large, Scott Eastwood has proven himself as a talented actor and filmmaker in his own right. By working hard, taking on diverse roles, and never shying away from the challenges of the industry, Scott has successfully built a name for himself. His journey may have started with a famous last name, but today, Scott Eastwood's legacy is one he's earned on his own terms. Carol Ann, Charlie Chaplin's daughter. Charlie Chaplin, one of the most iconic figures in film history, spent decades charming audiences worldwide with his on-screen persona, especially as the Tramp. For much of his career, Chaplin was celebrated as a wholesome, family-friendly actor. But behind the camera, his personal life was far more complicated, especially when it came to his relationships with women. Rumors swirled about his preference for younger women, and these rumors took a serious turn when allegations surfaced that he fathered a child with a much younger woman, one whom he later vehemently denied. In the early 1940s, Chaplin was married to his third wife, actress Paulette Goddard, when he crossed paths with a young actress named Joan Barry. Struck by her beauty and talent, Chaplin quickly took Barry under his wing, casting her in his film project, Shadows and Substance. Their professional relationship soon turned into a personal one, and they became romantically involved. Their affair was an open secret within Hollywood, and Chaplin's influence in Barry's career seemed to indicate how close the two had grown. Things took a serious turn when Barry, in 1943, filed a paternity suit against Chaplin, claiming he was the father of her child, Carol Ann, who was born on October 2, 1943. This accusation set off a chain of events that would shake Chaplin's carefully crafted public image. Joan Barry's lawsuit triggered an FBI investigation led by none other than J. Edgar Hoover, who had a personal vendetta against Chaplin due to his political views. The FBI's findings revealed details of their affair, including how Chaplin had flown Barry to Los Angeles in 1942, where they engaged in intimate relations. Barry's allegations also included claims that Chaplin had encouraged her to date other men, further complicating the paternity case. Despite the nature of their relationship, Chaplin vehemently denied being the father of Carol Ann. His denial, however, did not stop Barry from pursuing the case with determination. The scandalous nature of the paternity suit caught the public's attention, adding another layer of drama to Chaplin's already controversial life. As the case went to trial, over 3 blood tests were conducted, all of which indicated that Chaplin was not Carol Ann's biological father. However, Joan Barry refused to accept the results, accusing the labs of corruption and continuing her fight. In a surprising twist, despite the scientific evidence, the second jury trial concluded with an 11-1 vote in favor of Chaplin being named the father. Chaplin was subsequently ordered to pay child support for Carol Ann, a ruling that stunned the public. The entire ordeal, including the trials and the negative press, tarnished Chaplin's reputation. Despite the legal mandate to pay child support, Chaplin never acknowledged Carol Ann as his daughter and maintained his innocence regarding her paternity. The scandal also had broader implications. Chaplin's political views and relationships with much younger women were heavily scrutinized, ultimately contributing to his decision to leave the United States in the 1950s. For Joan Barry, the affair and legal battle marked the decline of her acting career, leaving her largely forgotten by Hollywood. Carol Ann, the center of one of Hollywood's most infamous paternity battles, grew up in the shadow of her mother's relentless pursuit of justice. Chaplin's complex personal life, particularly his relationship with women, remains a controversial aspect of his legacy. The paternity suit involving Carol Ann remains one of the most talked about scandals in Hollywood history, revealing a different side to the beloved star that many fans hadn't seen before. Roberto Rossellini and Ingrid Bergman. For years, Ingrid Bergman was Hollywood's darling, a Swedish actress who had become a global sensation thanks to her stunning performances and natural charm. She first rose to fame in German and Swedish films, but it didn't take long for Hollywood to come calling. By the late 1930s, she was gracing the silver screen in America, and her career was on a steady rise. Films like Intermezzo made her a household name, and she was soon cast in Intermezzo, a love story marking her U.S. film debut. But just as her career reached new heights, her personal life took a dramatic turn. In the mid-1940s, while married to her first husband, Peter Lindstrom, Bergman met renowned Italian director Roberto Rossellini. What began as a professional relationship quickly transformed into something far more intimate after she wrote him a letter expressing her admiration for his work. Their connection blossomed, and soon Bergman found herself falling in love with him. Both were married at the time, Bergman to Lindstrom and Rossellini to his wife, and the affair was considered deeply scandalous, particularly in an era when moral values and family integrity were held in such high regard. Initially, they managed to keep their relationship under wraps, but over time, rumors began to spread, and their secret became harder to hide. What made this affair all the more shocking was Bergman's pristine public image. Known for her grace and integrity, she was often held up as a model of decency and professionalism. Unlike many of her Hollywood peers, she had never been involved in controversy, and her natural beauty was celebrated as much as her acting talents. Bergman was considered untouchable, which made the news of her affair with Rossellini a major scandal. When the affair became public, the backlash was swift and brutal. Ingrid Bergman, once adored by fans and filmmakers alike, was now being condemned by religious groups, political leaders, and the public. Her reputation took a massive hit. Studios refused to cast her in roles, fearing that her mere presence would result in film boycotts. She was labeled an adulteress, and her clean image quickly crumbled under the weight of public scrutiny. But while the world condemned them, Bergman and Rossellini's love only grew stronger. Rossellini divorced his wife, and Bergman attempted to leave her husband, but the process was far from smooth. Her divorce from Lindstrom turned into a bitter legal battle, and he was unwilling to let her go without a fight. Despite the turmoil, Bergman found herself pregnant with Rossellini's child, and on February 2, 1950, she gave birth to their son in Rome. At the time, they were still unmarried, and the fact that their child was born out of wedlock only intensified the scandal. In an era when having a child outside of marriage was considered disgraceful, Bergman and Rossellini's decision to keep their relationship and child public created an uproar. U.S. Senator Edwin C. Johnson publicly denounced Bergman, calling her a disgrace to American womanhood on the Senate floor. Her home country of Sweden also expressed its disappointment, and the international press had a field day. Overnight, Ingrid Bergman went from being one of the most beloved actresses in the world to one of the most vilified. Yet despite the harsh criticism and public shaming, Bergman stood by her love for Rossellini and her new family. She and Rossellini eventually married, and they would go on to have 3 children together. Their first son, who is now in his 70s, reportedly worked as a real estate investor and stockbroker in Italy. The affair that rocked the world didn't just change Bergman's public image, it also changed her career. She continued to work with Rossellini, but it would take years for Hollywood to welcome her back. Still, through it all, Bergman remained unapologetic about her choices, choosing love over societal expectations and navigating the challenges that came with it. Their romance, once condemned by the world, eventually found a place in history as one of Hollywood's most notorious yet passionate love stories. Jack Nicholson, A Life Full of Surprises. Jack Nicholson is a name synonymous with Hollywood. His films, characters, and performances have left a lasting impression on audiences around the world. But what many may not realize is that Nicholson's personal story is as complex and intriguing as the characters he's portrayed on screen. Born in 1937, Jack Nicholson grew up believing that his mother, June, was actually his older sister, and that his grandmother, Ethel May, was his real mother. The truth about his family was hidden from him due to the scandal surrounding his birth. His biological father, Donald Fuschillo, was already married when he had an affair with 17-year-old June, a young showgirl. June, too young and struggling to make ends meet, decided to let her parents raise Jack as their own. As a result, Jack grew up thinking that his grandparents were his parents and that his mother was his sister. This secret stayed buried for decades until 1974, when Jack was 37 years old. It was then that he discovered the truth about his parentage, a revelation that would be shocking for anyone, let alone someone who had spent their entire life believing a different story. But Jack, known for his resilience, didn't let this revelation derail him. Instead, he continued to build an extraordinary career, becoming one of the most celebrated actors of his generation. His personal life was just as colorful as his career. In the 1960s, Jack was married to actress Sandra Knight, and the couple had a daughter named Jennifer. However, his romantic relationships didn't always follow conventional paths. During his 17-year relationship with actress Angelica Houston, Jack fathered a daughter, Honey Hallman, with another woman. He also had a daughter named Lorraine, with actress Rebecca Broussard during the same period. Jack's romantic entanglements added layers of complexity to his personal life, but they didn't stop there. Actress Susan Anspach claimed that her son, Caleb Goddard, was also Jack's child. Despite the twists and turns in his personal life, Nicholson never allowed himself to become consumed by the drama. Instead, he channeled his energy into his work. Known for portraying complex and morally ambiguous characters, Jack Nicholson earned his place in film history with unforgettable performances. His role as Randall McMurphy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1975, earned him his first Academy Award for Best Actor, solidifying his status as a Hollywood great. But Nicholson didn't stop there. His chilling portrayal of Jack Torrance in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, 1980, remains one of the most iconic performances in horror cinema. His remarkable range continued to shine in films like Chinatown, Terms of Endearment, Batman, As Good as It Gets, and About Schmidt, making him one of the most versatile actors of all time. Jack Nicholson's story is a testament to the power of perseverance. Despite a complicated family background and a turbulent personal life, he became everything he ever dreamed of, an iconic actor who captivated audiences across generations. Behind his legendary smile lies a fascinating life, full of challenges, triumphs, and a legacy that continues to inspire.